I still was just resisting, I still had such imposter syndrome around like, this isn't me. I'm this corporate, boss lady that works in design. And so I just decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to put the effort into this. I'm going to get certified. If I don't ever use the certification, that's okay. And I was going through it and I got laid off. And I was like, huh. And at this point, like through my journey, I was like very aware of like the universe had to kind of like kick me. And so it was like, oh, okay, all right, I get it. Like I'm supposed to be doing this with my life now.
You're listening to Sensitive, Spiritual, and Successful, the podcast where we uncover ways to connect you back to your soul self and get you unstuck so that you can live out your full potential. I'm Jasmine Lynn, a former psychotherapist turned human design soul guide and EFT tapping success coach, and I'm here to show you how to love yourself through all your levels of growth. I know you're here because you have an impact you want to make in this world and you have a light to share, and I'm here to guide you through that journey because you deserve soul-aligned success.
Hi, everyone. Today I have Beecher here as our guest. She is a certified EFT practitioner and life coach who helps people heal and break free from unfulfilling patterns so that they can reconnect with their true selves. After she struggled with anxiety, grief, and trauma, she discovered the transformative power of EFT. And so, inspired by her own healing, Beecher left a 2-decade corporate career to guide others toward fulfillment. She empowers clients to release emotional blocks, shift limiting beliefs, and helps them create lives filled with peace, clarity, and purpose. Beecher, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. So good to be here.
Yeah, and you were part of the Tap into Abundance Summit, so that's how we got to connect.
The event was awesome. Such a great turnout.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, let's just jump right in. First of all, do you know your human design?
Yeah, I actually do. And I want to get with you more about it because I know like the very basic parts of it. I know I'm a manifester and I know I'm a 3-5. So 3-5 is martyr, I think is in there, right? Which is so funny because before I knew that I was 3-5, I was actually having an EFT session as the client because I also have it done for me. Um, and something came up and I was like, ah, that's the martyr in me. Like, like totally recognizing that part. So
Yeah.
when I saw I was a 3-5, I was like, oh yeah, okay. Let me try to embrace this part and work. Yeah, it's there.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're a manifestor. I'm a 3-5 as well.
Okay.
So we learn through trial and error. We learn what works by doing what doesn't. Or if someone tells you or tells a 3-line, don't do it that way. 3 lines are like, but I kind of need to try it for myself. And then the 5 line is like, sometimes people can see you as like the superhero and like fix me, but you
Mhm.
have to set clear boundaries and they project onto you what they want you to be. So you might feel like people don't actually know who you are, but they're like, oh, Beecher is this. And then if you don't fulfill their expectation, you're like thrown off the pedestal and they're like, oh, I can't believe Beecher's like that. It's when you finally do things for yourself and not what other people expect of you,
Yeah.
people like sometimes they don't like you anymore. And you have to be okay with that.
I have also done a lot of work around that one. I think, and so many of us are people pleasers, right? Like it's just, maybe it has to do with my human design and then also, being brought up in a certain atmosphere and kind of feeling like that was the best way to be. And like, yes, like the boundaries. I mean, I still struggle. It's an ongoing, yeah, an ongoing thing for me, but yes, like have done a lot of work around that
Yeah.
in EFT.
Gotta love EFT for that because practical. And it's funny because the 5 lines love practical solutions. Like they're like, I'm here to give the world, I'm here to universalize, this information and provide people with a practical solution. And that's how I'm going to help you. Okay. Well, I could talk all day about human design, but let's get into finding out more about you and your wonderful work. So what started your healing journey, or can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah. So I struggled with anxiety for many years. It started in high school and, growing up, therapy was not really an option. Like, it just wasn't out there the way it is today, and especially kind of in my family. It wasn't that they were opposed to therapy, but no one was doing it. It just didn't feel like the natural thing. So I kind of just got into this space of suck it up, deal with it, move on, stay busy. And so I silently suffered for many years. And when I was 26, I lost my sister suddenly, tragically. And so that really exasperated my anxiety. And I think it was around that point where I started drinking to kind of numb what was going on. I was very aware of what I was doing. And so at a certain point, I was like, okay, like I'm ready to have kids. I want to start a family. I can't do this anymore. And I kind of pulled myself together and started a family, which was amazing. Fast forward, I'm 32 and I have a near death experience. That kind of catapulted me right back into this unhealthy space of, now when I look back, I'm like, oh, it was definitely PTSD for a while that I was dealing with. But again, I wasn't really reaching out for help at all. So I was just kind of going through the motions, working really hard, raising my kids, having very little time to take care of myself or really be present in my life. And so around 5 years ago, it was around the 40th year. I think this probably happens to a lot of people as I work with more clients. It's like this, it's not a middle age crisis. It's a middle age success, is like the way I like to look at it. It's like you get to this point and you're very aware that you're kind of like at a potential halfway mark in your life. And you look at what you've done, and some of the things are great and amazing and you're really grateful for. And some things you feel like, why did I wait so long to do this? Or I really want to be doing this. What am I doing? And I got to a point when I was turning 40 where I was like drinking almost a bottle of wine a night. I was miserable at my corporate job. I was a vice president. From the outside, everything looked really great. Had the good job, had the two beautiful, healthy kids. Um, everything. And I was like super grateful for it. So I don't want to, dismiss that part. It was a really great life. And then I was really ashamed that I was not fulfilled with it, that I felt like something was really missing, and really, really felt pretty miserable at work. Like I felt like I should be doing something different with my life, but I went to college for fashion design. I, built this career. It's like, well, what else would I do at this point? And then I think really the turning point was my son was diagnosed with PANS. And with that came like extreme anxiety for him. So he went from this like really social, outgoing kid, loved to perform music in front of people, to not being able to go into the school building, would shake, turn pale, would pace until 1 in the morning at night, just like not being able to settle at all. And I was just, well, my nervous system was just regulated. So it was like, how was I going to help regulate his? And so as I started just desperately looking for natural ways to support his nervous system and reduce his anxiety, I came across EFT tapping. And, and I'm not, I want to be clear on something. I'm not anti medicine. If you need medicine for anxiety, depression, whatever you're going through, absolutely. I'm all for it. At the time, as his mother with a 9-year-old, I felt like I need to try other things first. We turned to medicine eventually when he was a little bit older and could communicate effectively. And I do want to say I have permission to talk about this from him. So otherwise I wouldn't be sharing this. But EFT tapping, I was told about it a couple times by like friends, just kind of, oh, you may want to try this. And I was kind of in this like animalistic, like primal mother, like, I just need to protect him. No one understands. And I had been dealing with doctors that were really dismissive. So I just felt really like no one knows. I've got to figure this out. And so maybe like the third time EFT came across, I was like, okay, all right, universe, I'm paying attention. Let me try this out. And I tried it with him. And, it's tricky because with a 9-year-old, their attention span, they may not want to be told to tap on their body. They may not want you tapping on their body. So it took a little bit of, oh, is now a good time? And once I got him to engage in it, it was actually a panic attack. So he was desperate. And I was like, please just try this. And I had never seen him come down from a panic attack that quickly. Like EFT did something that I just at the time could not understand. And I was so kind of blown away by how much it was benefiting him. And like it got to a point where he would let me tap on him at bedtime. That was the best time to do it. So, he wasn't having a panic attack. He was calm and he would allow me just to tap gently and he would kind of fall asleep with me tapping on him. So, anyone who has a child that they're like, oh, I want to try to figure out how to work this into a routine, I would start there where your child doesn't necessarily seem to need it, but is in a relaxed state and will be okay with, if they're comfortable with mom or dad tapping on them, you can do that or they can tap on themselves. But it's great to get them to participate when they're not in an intense emotional state. I was so blown away that I was like, you know what? I might as well try it for myself. Because again, I was dealing with anxiety daily. I was doing talk therapy. I was doing acupuncture. Things would maybe take the edge off for short term, but I wanted long term relief. And I started doing EFT. I worked with a practitioner. I joined the weekly group tapping session. It was just amazing. I just don't know how to explain the transformation that occurred for me personally. I know EFT is not for everyone, and that's totally fine. But if it is your modality, it's everything. So EFT changed my life. I stopped drinking. I've been like 5 years without a drink. I just don't even think about it. And I was coming from a place where it was like all day, at work. I'm like, when am I going to be able to drink? And what, weekend plans with the kids. Oh, the zoo's serving beer now? Great, we'll go there. So everything was kind of revolving around making sure I could take the edge off. And so all of a sudden, I didn't want to drink anymore. I wasn't feeling anxious. Now it was like, several months. I mean, I had a lot of healing to do. So it wasn't like, oh, I did it once and all of a sudden I'm not anxious. But it was so worth putting in those time, like several months to have a lifetime of like feeling present and comfortable in your own skin was like the best gift I could have given myself. I mean, I think like that did it for me. I was just like, I am all in. And it opened up this door for me of like, well, I want to get trained in it. I want to be able to support my kid and I want to be able to support myself with this modality. I love it. So it started from that place. And I have an amazing mentor in India through EFT International, Pooja Kantz, and I trained with her and just loved every minute of it, finding out the scientific research that had been done and how it worked and all of that I just ate it up. And at the end of the training, she was like, okay, well, are you going to become certified? Because that's a whole 50 hours and case studies. People think it's easy to get trained, but it really takes about a year when you have to do all the hands-on work. And she was like, yeah, well, I mean, it comes naturally. I mean, I think you should just consider it. And so I think like it took a week of just kind of like it kept on popping up. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess why not? Like I still was just resisting, I still had such imposter syndrome around like, this isn't me. I'm this corporate, boss lady that works in design. And so I just decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to put the effort into this. I'm going to get certified. If I don't ever use the certification, that's okay. And I was going through it and I got laid off. And I was like, huh. And at this point, like through my journey, I was like very aware of like the universe had to kind of like kick me. I would ignore signs frequently. And so it was like, oh, okay, all right, I get it. Like I'm supposed to be doing this with my life now. Like that feels right. I kind of toyed around with getting another corporate job within like the first few months of getting laid off. And after a few months, I was just like, this is not, I was miserable. What am I doing to myself? I want something more out of my life. I want to feel fulfilled and I want to enjoy what I'm doing. And so I went all in on EFT. I was just like, this is it. And I'm the type of person that kind of wants to do everything that I find fascinating. I'm like, ooh, there's breath work. Oh, there's EMDR. Like, let me just do it all. And I was like, put your blinders on. You love this. Just be the best you can be at this one thing. And so that's really been my focus over the past few years. And I had to tap a lot on the imposter syndrome thing. Like that was probably the most challenging part was like, I'm putting myself out there on social media and like, what are people going to think? And people that knew me from my previous job, if they see me, so there was all of that was coming up. I had to work through. And now I'm at a point where, I actually do design work. Like I do freelance work because I love it, but it's just at this peaceful place of like, I can do this and I can do this. I like it. Why not? So yeah, I love EFT and I'm super passionate about helping other people. I don't want anyone to feel the way I felt for so many years.
I feel like your story is very inspiring and also very relatable. Like how many people struggle with not feeling super fulfilled, but feeling like, well, I have to do this because, there's bills to pay and there's things to do and I've got kids and all these things. And yet the universe is sending you signs. I think it's super relatable of ignoring those signs, but
Oh,
it's crazy that you got laid off. Before we continue, I just wanted to let everybody know that if you need a human design chart, you can grab that for free on my website, www.jazzmaylin.com. I'll link it in the show notes. And if you want to gather more information about the foundational pieces of your human design chart, there is a report for only $7.99. You can download that again at my website. When you generate the chart, you'll have an option to grab that. I highly recommend it if you're new to human design and just want to get all your information in one piece instead of spending your time Googling it and putting all the pieces together yourself. All right, let's continue. Coming into the next question, actually, why do you think so many people struggle with, stress and anxiety and burnout? Because, you lived that experience. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's for many people, it's impossible given the society we live in. I think life has just become so stressful that we don't even realize we are stressed. It costs a lot to have a family. Most people have to work at least one full-time job. And then forget it if you're a single parent. And yes, I'm being specific around a family situation, but even a single person, I mean, it costs a lot to live. And you're working hard. You're trying to keep everything together. You're trying to be a good friend, a good partner. I, you know, Everything is like on this amplified version now where I think it's difficult to be present. It's difficult to realize you're so stressed. People talk about stress the same way they talk about, I'm tired. Like, I think it's just like a normal part of just like, you walk into work, how are you doing? "Oh, I'm so stressed." It's kind of like, oh, yeah, no big deal. So I think that it's something a lot of us ignore. And I think that it does take work not to be stressed given the day to day nowadays. Like I won't get into politics, but the election alone stressed a lot of people out, and they're going to have to continue to live with that stress. So it's underlying stress that, again, like we're not even aware we're carrying, and then just keeping up, multitasking, keeping up with the day to day. I think it's so important to identify that you're feeling stressed first, and then to be willing to carve out time to try to decrease the stress, to heal the stress. That takes work too. Like, it's hard. It's like, I tell people I offer an 8-week course, and it's like, this, this will be work. Like, this is, and then, you know, short amount of time, 2 months to do a lot of work to heal yourself. It takes time. It takes energy. It's for someone who is so ready to get to the other side and to work on themselves. And that is not an easy thing to do. I recognize that and also acknowledge that we're all stressed. And finding things like EFT, which is so great because if you're dealing with chronic stress, you want to work with a practitioner and really try to clear that and heal. But on a day to day, you can use EFT on your own. I get stressed day to day, like little stressors, like maybe someone cuts me off on the highway and I think it's so dangerous. And all of a sudden, I'm just like feeling so stressed. It's, safety first. But yeah, I'll grab one hand and tap on my collarbone as I'm driving. Like, okay, I'm not going to let this derail my entire day. And I'm not going to let it stick around. So then more stressors are mounting on top of each other. Uh, so, it's great to have EFT in your tool belt just to like whip it out when you're feeling bombarded by stress, which unfortunately we're going to feel almost always.
Yeah, I think you make a good point of like being very intentional about knowing that you're stressed. And because we can get addicted to stress, like I find sometimes clients, it's hard, or even myself, like it's hard to come into a calm state because when you're chronically stressed, that's your baseline now.
Yeah.
Like your body has changed its baseline to always be on alert. And so we were always looking for that stress feeling. So when you say it takes a lot of work, it can feel uncomfortable to be calm. Like,
Yes. And I love what you say about it being addictive. Like cortisol is addictive and it's hard for some of us because to your point, like it feels good to be doing a lot, right? We feel like, whoa, we were so productive today. And like maybe we're running around with like our hair on fire and we're like, oh, got so much done. Like, wow, pat on the back. But like, yeah, you're going to burn out. You're going to crash after a certain amount of time, unfortunately. So,
yeah, it's like at what cost? I remember I saw a naturopath when I was 20, and she's like, you have adrenal fatigue. I was going to school. I loved working. Then I would like skip school, study here, stay up late and like maintain friendships, go to party. Yeah, like you know what I mean? Um, and I had no idea. And it's like at the age of the ripe old age of 20, it's like, you have adrenal fatigue. And I remember getting a massage one time, and the lady was like, relax. Quit. And I'm like, okay. She's like, no, but like, can you relax your body? And I didn't know that I was, I had no idea. Probably why I trained to be a therapist too, but I'm like this all the time, bracing for something to happen, right? Like the fight or flight. And then I got my nails done one time and she's like, okay, relax your hand. I'm like, I am. She's like, no, no, like relax your hand. I have no idea what I'm, just running off of fumes. But those are some practical ways to know. I tell clients, check in with yourself to see, like do a body scan, set an alarm every 15, 30 minutes and just bring yourself back to calm because it's easier to come back from on a scale of 1 to 10 of being stressed. A 3, bringing it down to a 0 is easier than being at a 10 and coming down.
I will say, people that are dealing with chronic stress, if you go and try to tap on your own, there's a good chance that you're going to feel the intensity increase. And so I just point that out because it is important to work with a practitioner if you are dealing with chronic stress or anxiety. I definitely experienced this initially too. Let me tell you, you said something before that reminded me of this, but I was trained in transcendental meditation around 5 years ago too, when I was kind of trying to get my life back in order. The first time the man training me asked me to close my eyes just for 2 minutes, just close my eyes and try to quiet my brain. I felt like I was probably going to pass out. I could not contain myself. I'm like, this is torture. 2 minutes, and he's probably going to notice that I am not okay. And this is, I mean, it was just all the self talk and just feeling so anxious in that moment. So it's kind of, I would say, similar to that. If you're dealing with chronic stress and all of a sudden you're like, let me tune into it. Let me even try to tap on it. That may be too much for your nervous system initially. It will get better, but you just want to be guided really safely and gently through that because it can, when you draw attention to it, like you don't like how you're feeling, and that can bring up other things. So, um, I just say be really mindful and gentle with yourself as you try any new modality.
That's such a great point. Thank you for sharing that. And from like a different perspective, if you've always been in a stress response state, fight or flight, it's like a tiger chasing you all the time. So when you're teaching your body to be calm, but you're on alert, like why would your body want to be calm? So it's like, yeah, I love that to really know that it's a process because you actually have to slowly bring yourself down because
Yeah.
like we said, if a tiger's going to chase you, you're not going to just put your guard down. It's hard to put your guard down.
And it's good for people to know like that's normal. Like your body's trying to protect you. I spent, especially when I was younger, so many years thinking I'm the only person that's feeling this way. I think it's important to know like what you're experiencing is normal given the state your nervous system is in, and to just not feel alone in it. And I think that's another good reason to get a practitioner. And it's important because mirroring, like when you're doing an EFT session with someone, to see someone across from you doing the same things as you is also extremely healing and beneficial to that process. So you're really not feeling alone and you're feeling very supported. That's why I do stress it a lot. I promise I'm not trying to pitch myself. I really just want people to feel safe and supported during the healing process.
What does it mean to live a present life?
So for me, living a present life means showing up completely aware of your surroundings, feeling grounded, and taking it in. So like the first thing that comes to mind is going to like I love watching my daughter in her sports games. So like if I go to a basketball game, okay, so I'll do like a before and after. Like when I was not present, I would show up to a game. I would be fidgeting. I'd be looking at my phone a lot. I'd look like I was, I mean, I'd look at the game, I'd cheer, it looks like I was present enough. But inside my mind, I was thinking about all the things I had to do after the game and, oh, why am I feeling like so crappy right now? It was just all over the place. And so I would leave the game. And, if someone asked me, like, did your daughter get any baskets? Did, like, ask me details of the game, it would be, I have no idea. And so being fully present is, yeah, but being fully focused and alive in that moment. Like you're just connected to what you're doing. I'm not saying, yes, something will pop into my head at a game and I'll be like, oh, shoot, I don't want to forget doing that. And I may just put it in my phone quickly and then put it away. But I am enjoying every minute of the game. I'm fully in it, maybe two in it. I feel like pretty like, whoa, after the game because I'm so invested. I know all the players' names. Like I'm just, completely there and loving it. It doesn't feel like a burden to be somewhere. Like when you're fully present, you're engaged. I feel like after all the work I've done with EFT and just in my own spiritual journey, I'm able to be present for the hard times too. I recently lost someone, and it's to be able to be present in that grief feels so different from previous experiences where, I numbed it, I pushed it away, I did not want to process it. And so being present may be hard sometimes, but it actually always feels good. Like, no matter how sad you are about something, it feels good that you're able to be present with those feelings and support yourself in that moment. So yeah, I mean, that's like an extreme being present situation. Like,
No.
I think it's key to like really living fully.
Yes, I was going to say you highlighted a positive, fun thing, but thank you for sharing that as well. Of like, even in the hard times, being present is
Yeah.
valuable because I think a lot of us are afraid to feel, especially if it's a
Yeah.
negative feeling, we run away from it or we mask it or we do whatever we need to not feel it. But when you feel it, it actually feels good to be able to hold yourself through the emotion. Like, that's kind of what I want, like, just through this conversation, thinking that's kind of what I want for everybody to trust the process that you have a tool or, maybe you have other tools to be able to, like, just be present with what you're feeling, good or bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the hard part, right? Teaching people how to, it's okay that you're
Yes.
having a negative feeling.
I mean, it's unavoidable, right? Like, as we live. Like,
Yeah. We're human. Yeah.
and it kind of reminds me of the book The Secret. Did you read that one? Um, about attracting. And, the idea is that you're able to be fully present all the time and lean into every moment, whether it's bad or good. I wish I could think of the woman's name who wrote the book now. Rhonda Burns, is that it? I just think that's kind of the goal in life in a way, to get to that space where you are kind of just in this joyful space of being alive and getting to witness the beauty of life. And
Mhm.
with that comes the sad, the bad, the good, the amazing, all of it. But to be present for that, love yourself through it. I mean, like, it's easier said than done. That's kind of what we all strive for at the end of the day, whether we're aware of it or not. That's kind of where we want to get to.
It's funny because you've done the work. I've done some work as well, right? And
Um,
so I remember being at a place where that seemed like when you said you could only meditate for like, or you closed your eyes and tried to meditate. I used
oh,
to only meditate for a minute. I,
mm,
I knew the benefits of it, but it was really hard for me. And so I used the app. This is not an ad, guys. Use the app Headspace.
yep,
And I remember they had like 1 minute, 2 minute meditations and
for
just teaching you to bring your attention back. And I would just do that like one minute a day. It is so freaking hard. But I also think this little theory, I don't know, that I have is that when you do the inner work and you clear, the emotional baggage, we call it, of, being disappointed here or feeling shame when a failure here or whatever. When you clear all those, you actually have more space to be present. When I would process things, when I would look at it and, come to a different conclusion about what had happened through journaling or talking about it, created more space for me to feel safe. My body wasn't holding on to the emotions and the stories of what it meant, or what I was making it mean about myself. Like you said, you love yourself through the process.
yeah, because we all have what we need inside of us. Like, it's just
Yeah.
hard to tap into that.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But
And
I think you made me think of something else, and that's, I think it's when we're 7 years old. I think that's kind of like a key turning point where, we start to kind of take on other people's opinions or beliefs. What our peers think of us matters. And a teacher says something that just sticks with us. And we never think that we could be good at math. So we're not even going to pursue anything, mathematical. That, I think I've done some work with EFT around that. And it's amazing when you're able to clear those limiting beliefs and do that inner child healing work so you can actually get in touch with that child before you just took on all these layers that maybe really don't serve you, don't belong to you. Um, and then you start to identify like, oh, wow, I loved horses more than anything when I was, I'm going to go and start taking like writing lesson weekly or, you just start to engage like your core in this new way of like, whoa, this is what truly lights me up. And that's a cool part of self-care too, is just realizing, oh, for me, it's dance. Like, I'm not a good dancer, but I love to dance. Like, that is my thing. And I had lost sight of that for a long time. And so yeah, it's just really cool process, I think, of like, to your point, like loving yourself and self-care and identifying what really makes you feel good.
Now, with EFT, we know that when you go through the process, the question I always get is, why do we have to focus on the negative? I was
Mhm.
actually doing a summit and one person was saying, like, why do I need to do that? Can you explain why you think people have such a hard time with the fact EFT focuses on the negative? Yeah.
Well, so a couple things come to mind. One is that, we're living in this kind of toxic positivity era of like, don't speak the negative, like that it will come true, or it will strengthen it. And so people want to just speak only the positive out loud. I will say, like, I get where it's coming from. Like, no one should walk around all day long just complaining and being negative about everything. But we really need to address the negative in order to clear it, so then we can bring in the positive and bring the positive in a way that actually sticks and is meaningful to us. We're gonna know if we're lying to ourselves. So if you're saying like, "I feel so relaxed right now," and you're incredibly stressed, like, it's not gonna do anything for you. Like, "I'm feeling stressed, and this is how I'm gonna stay." And I've actually had clients that are super resistant when they actually start like you have to be careful not to layer the positive in too soon. Like, oh, I'd really like relief. And then like that can spark something like, no, I don't want relief. Like I feel so much resistance around healing this right now. It's definitely important to address the negative because then the positive sticks. And that's what you want for like long term relief or long-term joy to work through that. I will say something that you made me think of was when I first started tapping, the weekly tapping group that I was a part of was actually pretty like positive tapping. I think that worked for me at the time as an introduction to tapping because it felt safe. So this is another thing, like, if you are dealing with something that is pretty intense, trauma or chronic stress or anxiety, it's scary to say that out loud. Um, I think in the moment, you feel like you're giving it power. You may be ashamed that you're feeling a certain way or that you went through something that can really dysregulate you even more in the moment. So I understand the resistance to wanting to talk about the negative out loud. You can do it in a way with EFT that is very gentle. You don't need to speak specific things. So there's different techniques if you are dealing with something that is so negative that you really just don't want to speak it. There's ways around that too with, a practitioner guiding you appropriately through that. So yeah, I think the main reason is people want just to speak the positive, and then I think for some of us, it's just really hard to speak the truth because it's
Mhm.
painful. And it is uncomfortable, like, even if it's something not so painful, it can feel uncomfortable saying these things out loud, but what I've found and what I've found that clients find is that they feel immense relief when they start saying the negative out loud, and, I mean, obviously, it's doing the work too, so you are actually getting relief, but they also feel more empowered, like, they all of a sudden feel like something that maybe felt like it was controlling them, all of a sudden they feel like they're in control, and that feels really empowering. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that you said an introduction to EFT sometimes is the positive tapping, not going right into it. Because you're right. EFT is very effective when it's specific experiences,
yeah.
to you. And so working with a practitioner to dive into certain specific things that you might have been holding on to can make sure that they're feeling safe and they're being guided. But yeah, the positive tapping, you know that their nervous system is being regulated regardless. Like
Right.
I always tell people, if you're just
Yeah.
tapping and you don't say anything, you know that tapping those points are the brain and the body are communicating. You are rewiring your response to stress. So it really,
Mhm.
honestly, just tap the points. And what you said about driving in the car and just tapping the chest point when you're feeling an emotion, it just makes sure that the neural pathways, this is what Dr. Peter Stapleton was saying when I interviewed her, is just making sure that the neural pathways aren't going to be cemented in that reaction or that same way that you're used to responding when you tap while you're actively feeling an emotion or thinking about something. It can just rewire it because you're actually calming your body, right? It's a beautiful technique, honestly.
You're in the positive, and like I use it, as just like a gratitude tool or a manifestation tool. So if I'm feeling good, I can just, I tap on the points and be like, I am so grateful for today. I'm open to the opportunities today presents, and I'm going to listen to the universe, and I feel amazing, so you can really kind of amp up that energy and have it carry you throughout the day too. To me, when I do that, my energy gets to that vibration where, if you're in the coffee shop or you're like out and about and like some stranger turns to you in line and it's just like, hey, and like you have this conversation that is just like so on point, and you're like, wow, I feel amazing. And you like go out and someone holds the door for you, and you're like, thank you. Like everything starts to kind of align, and you're like, this day is amazing. Like that's the vibration EFT gets me to when I'm like, I want to have an amazing day, and like, let's do this. And that I think, starts to attract the abundance, which we talk about format and stuff. And then you're in that space of where you're attracting things and you're just like, wow, this is amazing.
Tell us more about your EFT tapping programs. Are there like specific, is there a specific group
Yeah.
support? Yeah.
So I, obviously open to helping people in any way I can. So, single sessions are always an option. I have the True Tapping 8-week course right now. And that is, I mentioned it earlier, that is specifically for people that are like, I know there's something else I need to heal. I want to do the work. I'm ready. Let's go. That one is intense in the fact that we are setting goals for the 8 weeks. There's modules, there's homework. It's like, I think it's important for people to know like EFT is not that modality you do like one session and you're like, woo, like, great. People sometimes have one session and they're kind of like, I didn't really feel like a lot happened, or I was hoping for more. And so they just fall off and they're like, I'll do something else. I definitely recommend, like, yes, it may not be the modality you love, but give it like 3 to 5 sessions. You want to kind of make sure that you have given it a chance to work its magic. So the 8-week course is for someone who is all in and ready to go. I also offer a true manifestation course that, you know, ideally is for someone who did the 8-week course and is like, okay, I am ready now. Like I'm feeling like I've just up leveled my life and now I know what I want and let's do this. But it also can be for someone who's like, I'm already there. Like I've worked through my stuff and I'm ready to attract what I want. And then I do a lot of group sessions online. And I find that I focus more in areas that I've personally dealt with. So I do grief group sessions and stress and anxiety group sessions, some nuanced, like maybe procrastination, but procrastination is tied to stress. So it's all kind of in the same family. So if, listeners are interested in any of that, the best way to find out about online group offerings is to join EFT Social Club. So you can join for free, and that's my handle on social media, or you can go to eftsocialclub.com, join, and then you receive the weekly newsletter, which will tell you about upcoming sessions and wellness tips and all of that good stuff. So, um, and I've got a YouTube channel. If people don't find a video that speaks to them, and they're just short for people just, kind of get a feel for EFT. or people that want somewhere to start and then they can continue tapping on their own.
That's awesome. There's lots of ways to work with you. I love that you have that step of like the program doing the deep inner stuff. And then another one of, if you want to do some manifestation, live your best life. So I'll link everything, Beecher's Instagram, how to work with her website, and then you can sign up in that way. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I had so much fun.
I did too. It was great. I loved it.